Okay, this video is going to be a quick demonstration of how I create carved guitar top models in Fusion 360. There was someone asked me a question in one of the Facebook Fusion 360 groups as to how I did guitar tops in Fusion 360, and tried to give a quick description, which apparently wasn't very clear, so I thought I would put together a quick video showing exactly what my process is. I'm going to preface all this by saying that I'm definitely not a Fusion 360 expert. In fact, I just started using it about a month or so ago. So all this stuff is stuff that I've kind of figured out or taught myself based on tutorials on the Autodesk site, or just playing around with things and seeing what I could do. So again, the stuff I'm doing, it's all stuff I figured out. May not be the most efficient way or the best way or even the correct way. It's just how I do it. And it's worked for me. I've designed a couple guitar tops, and I've exported the G code out of Fusion 360 to my CNC machine and carved one of them. So it came out fine. So I think this is kind of what works for me. All right, so here we go. So what I've got here is a contour drawing that I quickly threw together of a Gibson Les Paul-ish kind of guitar top. So I just took a quick outline that I threw together of guitar shape, and then just quickly by hand created some splines representing contour elevation lines of the guitar top. My assumptions going into this are that the guitar is going to be it's going to have an elevation, total elevation of about 5 inches. So each one of these contour lines represents about a 1/4 inch rise in the elevation of the surface of the guitar. So the outer line is at 0, and that's at 1/8, and that's at 1/4, and that's at 3/8, and that's at a 1/2 inch. Okay, so those are my 4 lines. Again, it's just a quick demo, and these are kind of random contours I threw together. Obviously, if you want more detail and more control over how your surface is, you're going to need a lot more contour lines. So that's kind of what I have set up here. So my first step in doing this is I'm going to take these contour lines and I'm going to add a few little features to them. I'm going to do my contours using the Fusion 360 3D loft feature. So I'm going to create lofts between the outlines. And the loft tends to be a little bit quirky, especially in places like up in here where we have a transition between like a smooth curved spline and then a very sharp angle. Also, I've had some issues at times where I'm trying to create a gradual elevation across multiple close curves. So there's some quirks to it that you have to that I found I can kind of get around it by doing this next thing. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a bunch of additional lines on my drawing. So I'm going to create a whole bunch of lines here that kind of roughly describe how, like what the line, how I want the contour to go from elevation, for example, 0 to 1/8. So I add a bunch of these in that sort of refine it. And each one of these lines is then going to create an area, a separate area on the guitar that will help make these elevations go a little bit more smoothly when I create the lofts. Okay, so that's step one. Next step is to create a construction plane. Actually, I'm going to create a bunch of construction planes. So the first thing I do is I create a construction plane here, and this plane is created at elevation 0. So I'm going to kind of take my original drawing and project each one of these contour lines onto a projection that's going to be slightly elevated from the base surface of the drawing in the Z direction. So first one I create is this contour plane here. That's going to be elevated basically at the 0 elevation. So it's basically the same height as the XY axis. And then from that, on that construction plane, I project on the bottom, or the first 2 contours plus all of the intermediate or intersecting lines that I've created. So to create the construction plane, I just use a construction plane button up here, or you can find it under the construction menu, create an offset plane. When I create an offset plane, it brings up a dialog, and then I type in the distance you want it elevated away from the XY axis. And so usually I'll select the XY axis and then create the construction plane and then create the elevation off of there. So when I create that elevation or create that construction plane, once I create the construction plane, then I will select my contours and all of the lines, and then actually let me go here. I will create the construction plane. Once I have the construction plane created, then I'm going to go in, oops, sorry about that. Go to the construction plane and then go to sketch and project, and then I select all of the lines, the contours, and the lines that I want to project. And then I would hit OK, and it's going to project onto whatever that construction plane. In this case, I would be onto that plane number 14. So I'm not going to do that right now. All right, so I do that for that plane. Finish sketch, and then I'm going to go and create another construction plane. So hit construction plane. For that one, I am going to create the construction plane. That one's going to be at 1.25 inches. And then create my sketch 11. Sketch 11 is just going to have the first line and the second line plus all of the connecting lines created. Then I create another construction plane. That construction plane is going to be at a 1/4 inch, so 0.25 inches. And then I will add the second and third contour lines plus the intermediate ones. And I keep doing that, creating construction planes at 3/8 of an inch and at 1/2 inch, and then add in all of the lines so that ultimately I'm going to get this drawing here. So this is basically all those contour lines and all the connecting lines between the contours. And if I rotate this to the YZ plane here and I zoom in really, really close, you can see those drawings are at 0, 1/8, 1/4, 3/8, and 1/2 inch. Okay, so they're all at different heights. Okay, now once I've got all of that done, I'm ready to start creating my lofts. So what I'll do from here, all I'm looking at is these intermediate sketches it's created, and I will start creating lofts. So that's under the solid tab up at the top here. I'm going to create a loft. Let me go through step forward here. Okay, that's showing you the first loft. So in this case, what I have done is, let me go ahead and edit that feature. Okay, so what I've done is I've created I select profile 1. Profile 1 is the outer outline, all of these little segments. So I select all of those, and then I select the second area in here, select all of these segments, and then hit create loft. And when I do, it's going to create a 3D model of these two areas. So it's a little hard to see because it's not super, the graphics on this computer are not really all that hot. But it's going to create a lift from there to there. And then I'm going to create another loft. I found this works better if you do this in a couple steps. If you try to do them all at once, sometimes it gets confused. Then I create another loft. And for that one, if I edit this one, you'll see that what I've created is one where I've selected these two together, and then I've added in the 3 inner contour areas. Okay, once I do that and hit create loft, it's going to create the full sort of 3D map of my guitar. And there you can kind of see the contours in the guitar top. And again, it does a pretty good job. I'll show you a cross section here. Okay, so if I create a cross section, let me zoom in here a little bit. And then you can see as you go across, it's all kind of changing heights as you go across. Again, it's not a huge height elevation because it's only 1/2 inch for the whole top, but that's kind of what I set up for this one. Okay, so that's how I do it. Again, basic process. Take the contour lines, add in those little connector lines, project it up to each elevation of the heights that the contour lines are supposed to be, and then I just use lofts. So hope this is helpful to you. Let me know in the comments if you have any comments or questions, or if you know a better way of doing it. I'm always open to suggestions here. All right, thank you.